Okay, I'm going to try to go through Deep Sky Stacker real quick here with your images from Orion. I'll open up Deep Sky Stacker. Over here are your images. See if I can pick them out here. There's your lights. Drop them in, tell them light frames. It'll tell me there that they're 500 ISO 1 minute exposures. Right there are your darks. Drop them in, tell them they're dark frames right here. One thing on the settings that does get odd, make sure on your raw fit settings that you have use camera with white balance checked, bilinear interpolation, and do not have set the black point to 0 checked. On fits files I don't have anything checked. Alright, I'm going to hit register check pictures. I had already registered them and I'm just starting this completely over. So it's got recommended settings, and or you can choose them. Sometimes those recommended settings will cause some problems that are odd. So just starting out, just making sure things work. Results, I have align RBG channel. Lights are average. Darks average. Alignment automatic. Intermediate files. TIFF is what I use. Cosmetic, I don't have anything checked. And output, just helping it name the file, that's all it is. Those are really just completely basic settings. Automatic detection of hot pixels, and you can have it to where it stacks it when it's done, or you have to come in and you can go look at its results and then tell it to stack. I'm just going to tell it to go ahead and stack after registering, and I'll use the 90%. If you want to use every image, change that to 100%. I always let it pick out a couple bad frames or maybe a cloud go by or something. So I'm going to hit OK. Tells me we're stacking 26 minutes and 18 seconds worth of lights. Those are telling me what we've picked in there, the selections we picked. That's the message you said you were getting about the Sony camera. I don't see that it makes any difference. Mine just keeps on going just fine. You can actually, I usually have everything. I've got two windows, two monitors, but as it goes through your lights and your darks, you'll see it keep creating this data file here, text document. That's where it's aligning making your alignment. It'll go through each of these lights, and then it will go through each of the darks and create. There's already a master dark created down here because I didn't delete it, but I was pretty much doing this thing starting completely over, let the computer run everything. So it's finished aligning everything. Now it's going through and doing the stacking. This can take a long time if you have a whole lot of subs, and if I'm combining different sessions, it can take quite a while. Much faster compared to my old computer. It could take all night on some of the old stuff. And it's doing the final image. Now, the best way to do things is to not use Deep Sky Stacker to start you don't process your image in Deep Sky Stacker, but you can see your results here. Mess around with it. Go ahead and mess around with it some here. You can see great signal, and everything's in this nice tight spike here instead of all spread out and fat. So that's a good. That means you've got good data here. I can move these one at a time, but the easiest thing is to hit link settings right here. And plus you can also use your arrow keys. A little bit more precise movement than the mouse. So I'm going to move that a little bit. Let me move it a little further. And every time you hit apply, you'll see it starts working. Saturation, a lot of times when I'm just looking, I'll bump it up to 15. Brings a lot more color, but now you start to see the background starts turning red. And that's where you wind up, that's where you can add problems if you take this image and try to process it into with Photoshop later. You've added some odd little things. I'm going to drop that saturation down a little bit. Something else that could be weird that you said you said you got some odd things. You want this log square root, I believe what it's called. I think I forgot to mention that earlier. It really just changes the way Deep Sky Stacker presents it over here in this. I usually leave on that log square root. I think you wind up getting the same results, but through a different process, maybe. If that makes any sense. And on the luminous part, you can change the shape of the curve, how it's cutting through your data, and then that's where you can get some really messed up looking things from a small little adjustment. A lot of times hit reset. A lot of times where these are, you probably don't want to mess with them a whole lot. This will take the highlights out. That's what I did with your image. Is I took, this is basically what I did. I took highlights out, and I used that picture and put in another layer on your Orion for the core. But that's really Deep Sky Stacker. I know that you'll like to pull the blacks down and crank saturation up. That's the nice thing about it. You can do it whatever way you want to. See, that doesn't look bad, but there's a lot of red, and I think I kind of ran into that yesterday. There's actually a lot of dark dust clouds in here that you can't see in this image, but they're barely there. And that dust, you can see there's a lot. The parts of the skies are darker than the others in here, and it's because there's not dust there. Where the dust is shows up a little bit grayer and a little bit redder. So anyway, that's Deep Sky Stacker. Once again, whenever I save these, I save them twice. I go to save picture to file, and I'll name it. Let's see what I've already named them here. Like M42 Deep Sky Stacker, so I would name it M42 DSS, and you can put you applied or not applied, but I save them both ways. First I save them applied, and then I usually add right here NA for not applied, and I changed to that. The one that's embedded with adjustments is the one that you want to use in Photoshop. The one, if you hit applied, it'll look just like whatever you've done here, which is tempting to do. Sometimes it's quicker, it may be easier, and it may not be a bad option for you starting off. That may make your processing a little bit easier. You don't have to do the initial curves and stretches and levels right at the beginning, and you can start from a point that you like already. So anyway, I'll try to publish this. It'll probably take a little while for it to get in there, and 10 minutes, I guess we did alright. So we'll go from there and talk to you a little bit. See ya. And I'm going to add this to the end of it. I'm going to show you the difference in the two images. So I'm going to go ahead and save these and open them both up. So I'm going to just call this M42 Deep Sky Stacker. Of course, you can name them whatever you want to. So I'm going to call it M42 Deep Sky Stacker Applied. I'm going to hit apply. I've got it going to a file with your images in it. You notice it takes a lot longer because it's actually making changes to the file. Save picture to file. I'll call it M42 not applied, or embed, whatever you want to call it. A lot of times I just type in NA. So now those both saved over here. Take me a second. There's one of them. M42 not applied. I'm going to open it with Adobe. Another place that it's tempting to mess around with things here, but you're best off not. I'm going to open image. And I'm looking for the other one. Here's the other image. Oh my goodness, that was nice, wasn't it? There it is. There's the difference in the two. Fit them on the screen. So that's kind of, that one could be used for the core. Do a little work on it, but that's the difference in the two. This one can quickly be brought up. And look very similar to the other image, but you can, and that was just one stretch and one levels. You can see the red that's in the background of that. So that's where we did the vibrance. So that was just 2 steps, and those look pretty similar. And then you would go in. But really quickly you can see all of a sudden using the non-applied image is already better, and that's where the other can get you into trouble. And what I did, let's see here, what I did on the core for yours is I saved one. Well, I saved one in here called core. Oh. So all I did to not blow the core out or unblow it, let's do this. I'll make everything way too bright. Just really destroy the core. Now, I took this one called core, and you'll notice right down here it's going to make another level. And because I haven't moved anything around, it's going to lay right on top of the old one, I hope. If not, okay, so it did not, so I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to go to view, fit on screen. That's what I had done wrong. I had zoomed in a little bit. So now I'm going to take the core, drop it on here. Now they landed on top of each other, and drop that opacity down. You'll see. I'm going to hit place, layer, go to layer mask where I hit hide all. And now anywhere I take the brush, which I've got feathered out and everything, it reveals the image from below of the core. And you can go through and do blurs and stuff. I've got videos. I'd have to go look. It's been so long since I've done it. That's how you do that. And now I'm going to go to layer up here and just flatten image. Now I've gotten that, everything else that blew the core out, and you can start to mess with the core. You know, you start to notice you can see the difference where I stretched this. You can see the noise. I started creating problems where I overdid things. And the core, look how nice it looks because it's an image that hasn't been stretched too far. But that's where you start getting noise. That's where more subs, all that stuff helps. Longer images, more subs. So that's how you start to deal with a core. That is a very abbreviated version on dealing with the core of Orion. So anyway, I went after that and did increase the star color. I did the local contrast enhancement, and that makes things pop out a little bit more. Of course, the problem is where I stretch it too far, that starts making noise even more apparent. I'll usually name these levels, but I'm not. I'm just going through this quick. A lot of times I'll do the increased star color, and it'll run that. Sometimes I even run it twice, depending on how much color I want the stars. You got good blues and yellows in there already. And I always create a new layer, that way I can go back and actually you can't see a lot of difference, but you can see the stars changing. You know, this one you can see a lot of difference. And if I do noise, you know, it's pretty bad. That's where I stretch the crap out of it, and that's where you get all this noise. Noise reduction it's never good to have to use. If you can do an image with no noise reduction, you're much better off. Noise reduction shows up, makes everything blotchy, and causes artifacts and stuff. Now this, as long as you're not cropping in on it, it's starting to look pretty good. If you zoom in on it, it looks terrible. So subtle differences, subtle changes can make big changes. You can see here some of those clouds. I'm not sure if I can actually bring out there you can start to see those dust clouds that I'm talking about. Over here, space is much darker. Right there's a patch, a hole in the clouds, but you can see those gray clouds. So the fact that those are in your image, that's showing there's a lot of detail that you would never notice until you started to work on it. But those gray clouds are there. Until you mess with it, and you can get weird artifacts. There's places I'm like, well, the whole sky, everything's reddish. Why is it all reddish? Well, it's because the whole region is a HA region, and the whole region is red. And I've been fighting with it on my processing to get all this red image glow out of the back. Well, it's actually there. It's supposed to be there. So sometimes you see stuff and you're wondering what's going on. Well, that's the way it really is. Like I said, space isn't black most of the time. Anyway, I'm gonna add that at the end. I'd probably add another 10 minutes to the video, but 10-20. So anyway, I could even make that a second one. We'll see how YouTube does. I will talk to you shortly.